Badawi. It's based on a unique project overseen by UNESCO called the General History of Africa. That's Africa's history, written, interpreted, and told by Africans themselves. In this episode, we see how kingdoms became established in West Africa that eventually gave rise to three of the greatest on the continent. The Ghana Empire, the Mali Empire with its heart in the legendary city of Timbuktu, and the Songhai Empire. We start in Mauritania in northwest Africa, which is inextricably linked with several of the historic empires based in and around the Sahara Desert. It's only when you come to the Sahara Desert and you look in front of you, behind you, to the right and left, and all you see is sand. And then you get a sense of just how unforgiving this terrain was and indeed is for those who make the trek for kilometre after kilometre across the desert. But unforgiving terrain or not, trans-Saharan trade meant those who controlled these desert highways and crossroads grew rich beyond measure and could establish powerful and wealthy empires. The first big empire was Ghana, which confusingly did not include the country Ghana, which today bears its name. This began as a kingdom around the year 600 and stretched across several countries in modern Africa: Mauritania, Mali, Senegal, and Guinea. This is Nouakchott, the Mauritanian capital, and it lies along the Atlantic coast. But 900 kilometers inland south of here is Kumbi Saleh, the old capital of the ancient kingdom of Ghana. This was founded by the Soninke people, who still live in Mauritania. The Soninke were the main inhabitants of the Ghana Empire. They called it the Empire of Ouagadougou in their language. Their descendants today maintain their vibrant culture and see themselves as custodians of their history, as I discover when I drop by the Soninke Community Centre in the Mauritanian capital Nouakchott. They take a break from their dancing so I can speak with the head of the Soninke Association. So tell us, who were the Soninke people exactly?
Les Soninke, ils ont une histoire extraordinaire en Afrique de l'Ouest. C'était d'abord des cultivateurs, mais ils avaient aussi beaucoup d'autres métiers. Ils avaient beaucoup d'autres artisans. C'était des éleveurs, mais les Soninke, c'était aussi des guerriers. Il y avait le roi du Ghana qu'on appelait le Tunka, qui avait son armée. Il y avait autour de lui toute une population de guerriers, de chefs traditionnels, etc.
Sima Kasika is descended from an oral historian and performs a praise song about her people's noble origins. The kings of the Ghana Empire allowed local chiefs to keep their position, but they had to be loyal to the king and send him food and other goods. The king kept their sons as hostages in his royal court to maintain their allegiance. The Soninke Soninke people were keen fishermen then as they are today. Here they collect their evening catch. The selling of the fish falls to the women, and some set up oceanside cafes for those who enjoy fish at its very freshest. Along with fishing communities, the Soninke were herders and farmers. They used iron technology for swords, spears, farming equipment, and they also made decorative ceramics. Some of these objects from the Ghana Empire have been found and put on display at the National Museum in Nouakchott. I make my way there to meet its director.
Quand ils ont créé cet empire, l'essentiel de l'économie de cette culture de cet empire a été le commerce. C'est-à-dire que c'est un empire qui organisait le commerce entre le nord et le sud. Bon, l'organisation de l'empire était une organisation fédérale. C'est-à-dire qu'il y avait plus de 10 États qui sont fédérés à l'empire. Bon, la fédération aussi était très souple, c'est-à-dire qu'il reconnaissait le roi en tant que roi et il donnait des impôts au roi, mais chacun d'eux s'occupait de son état, si on peut dire, et l'organisait tel qu'il voulait. C'est le premier empire reconnu au niveau de l'Afrique de l'Ouest. Bon, ici, nous avons une vitrine composée de la céramique qui vient de Kumbisala.
Dr. Kane tells me these exhibits date mostly from between the 9th and 11th centuries and were excavated by archaeologists in the early 1900s.
Nous avons ici une statuette de femme qu'on a trouvée, donc qui montrait les statues de la femme, c'est-à-dire la forme de la femme dans l'Empire du Ghana. Et nous avons autre chose ici, c'est des brindilles en cuivre qui étaient utilisées comme monnaie dans l'Empire du Ghana. Pourquoi le cuivre? Parce que le cuivre avait plus de valeur que l'or. Par exemple, ce cuivre que vous avez été, 1 gramme de cuivre était échangé contre 3 grammes d'or. Donc ça avait vraiment de la valeur.
The rulers of Ghana occupied a strategic position halfway between the desert of North Africa and the gold fields of West Africa. This gave them a big advantage in controlling trans-Saharan trade, which helped them become immensely wealthy. Staging posts were established in and around the empire, like Walata and Wadan, in about the 11th century in northern Mauritania. Wadan, which is 600 kilometers from today's capital Nouakchott, is a place little seen by outsiders. But as I see for myself, it's well worth the visit. Wadan was an important camel caravan center and oasis. Today, its collection of stone buildings stand in ruin on a cliff overlooking the oasis. It is likely that the town prospered from the gold trade during the Ghana Empire because this route through the Sahara in northern Mauritania was probably used for the transport of gold during the time of the Ghana Kingdom. And this trans-Sahara trade was absolutely critical in underpinning the wealth of the rulers of Ghana because they traded with Arab merchants, with North Africans and Berber nomads, or Amazigh as they prefer to be called. The Ghana Empire exported iron and copper, but it was famed for its gold far and wide, as this description in the 11th century by the Arab geographer al-Bakri illustrates when he visited Kumbi Saleh.
The king adorns himself with ornaments around the neck and arms. On his head he wears gold, embroidered caps covered with turbans of finest cotton. He gives audience to the people for the redressing of grievances in a hut around which are placed 10 horses covered in golden cloth. On guard at the door are dogs of fine pedigree wearing collars adorned with gold and silver.
Gold was a commodity that Ghana used to buy salt. This was so valuable to them that they traded it almost weight for weight with gold. In fact, salt was at times used as a currency there. The salt was obtained in the form of rock salt bars from desert mines that fell outside the control of the Ghana Empire.
Et ce sel aussi a une qualité différente de l'autre sel que l'on connaît. Bon, ça c'est le sel qu'on appelle le sel gemme. C'est différent des sels qu'on utilise actuellement. Bon, et il était très apprécié dans l'Empire du Ghana et au sud, d'une manière générale, parce qu'il y avait beaucoup de maladies. C'est le sel qui pouvait les soigner. Donc, les deux produits principaux pour le commerce qui existait pendant l'Empire du Ghana, c'est le sel et l'or.
But Wadan's days of glory are long gone. It ceased to be a trading post. Local resident Mariam Lepiad has lived in the newly built part of Wadan for most of her life. There are about 5,000 people here. She tells me she just manages to stay in business selling basic amenities and the odd souvenir to the rare visitor.
الدكان ما هو كبير، نعتمد عليه على الصناعة التقليدية اللي معتمد عليه. فالتاريخ اللي أنا سمعه أنا ماني مضبوطة الكاميرا، غير بعض الناس سمعوا زين ودان سمعت عنه زين.
Wadan went into decline in the 16th century. The old town, which is 2 square kilometers, is deserted and lies in ruins. By about the 11th century, the rulers of Ghana, through exposure to trade with Muslim Berbers and Arabs, adopted Islam. This helped to spread literacy in Arabic, the language of the Quran. A number of these Arabs and Berbers remained in Ghana or territory adjacent to it, some of it rich from the water of an oasis. Trade between all these groups was greatly facilitated by one major factor: the introduction of a beast of burden that was particularly well suited to the desert and had an unprecedented impact on Sahara trade. The camel revolutionized trans-Saharan trade because it could keep enough water in its gut for 10 days, plus the fat in its hump provided it with nourishment for a considerable period of time. Now, the crossbreeding of the 2-humped camel of Central Asia with the 1-humped camel of Arabia produced a completely different type. One that was very slow in its movement but was capable of carrying heavy loads. This one was used for trans-Saharan trade, and the other was lighter on its feet and could travel very fast. And this kind of camel was used to carry news and as a bearer of messages. Dr. Abdelwadoud Abdallah is one of Mauritania's leading historians.
قبل الجمل كان هناك حديث عن التجارة الصامتة، كانت التجارة محدودة، ولكن مع الجمل أصبحت هناك قوافل كبيرة تعبر الصحراء، أحيانا تكون من آلاف الجمال. إذن هو مثل ازدهار السفن بالنسبة للتجارة عبر البحار والمحيطات. الذي نعلمه مع التاريخ أن موجودة هذه الأسرة الحاكمة الصونيكية التي يتحدث عنها الرحالة والجغرافيين والمؤرخين العرب. إذن هذه الظاهر أنها كانت مملكة تجارية أساسا مسالمة، لا تسعى للدخول في الكثير من المعارك، وإنما تسعى لتنمية التجارة وتنمية التبادل التجاري، وازدهرت ازدهار كبير مع انتشار الإسلام.
The Soninke people of the Ghana Kingdom enjoyed good relations with the Arabs and Berbers, whose descendants make up a large part of Mauritania's population today. The Berbers, or Amazigh, like Ahmadiyya, were and still are the camel herders. All the men in his family take it in turns to look after the camels. Early in the morning, Ahmed gathers the animals and takes them to graze, returning late in the afternoon. He lives near Shingiti, an old historic town in northern Mauritania, not far from Wadan. It was also a key trading center in the era of West Africa's great empires. Mohammed Dia is the head of the family. He has 8 children and around 10 grandchildren. Today, he's receiving a visit from the mayor of Shingiti, so he puts on his best white robe. I arrive soon after. حاج محمد أتكلم معك بالعربي فأنت عايش بنفس الشكل كأجدادك من زمان يعني
اللي عايشين بها أجدادي مات هو المعيوش ماتت الناس عايشة بي. كنا عايشين بالزرع براف جدجي نمشوا من هون قايسين السبخ نجيبوا الملح نقيسوا به السوداء ما أدري.
I wonder how the younger members of Muhammad's family integrate these traditions with modern lifestyles. وبتفتكر الجيل الجديد الجيل الجديد أحفادك أولادك حيتحافظوا بالتقاليد البدوية ولا لا؟ ما بفهموا.
قليل يفهموا هم اللي تغير هذا الورك الزمن وهلو القراية والشقلة في السور ولا في الحيوان ما تلهم ما هو ياسر قليل يتلهموا من الناس.
C'est très important pour nous les nomades puisqu'ils font partie de notre identité culturelle. Donc on vit dans les mêmes conditions qu'ils conservent nos habitudes. Ils conservent nos habitudes, les habitudes de nos ancêtres, mais tout en améliorant dans le cadre de l'éducation et dans le cadre de la santé.
اسمك مين؟ مريض. انت بنت الحاج حواء وانت؟
هي بنت عمو.
بنت عمو. وانتوا بتدرسوا ولا شغالين بتعملوا؟
ما يدرسوا ما يدرسوا.
هاي سبة.
I leave to take a look at the historic town of Shingiti. And in true nomad hospitality, Mohammed offers me a parting gift which I gratefully but politely decline. I set off in my car and Mohammed departs for urgent business in a more environmentally friendly manner. I make it to Shingiti, a crossroads in the desert where goods, ideas, language and religion were exchanged. Its historic buildings, including the mosque, date back to the 13th or 14th century. The old quarter of Shingiti is not quite the bustling metropolis it once was. Now, notable buildings here include the ancient mosque behind me, which has got a square minaret with 5 finials made of ostrich eggs. And in ancient times, traders would come here to do their business, just to gossip, or, of course, to pray. And in fact, Shingiti was a popular gathering spot for pilgrims on their way to Mecca. And so it became a holy city in its own right. And Shingiti was therefore a magnet for Muslim scholars. They would come here to receive training in religious studies, but also mathematics, science, astronomy, and law. Thousands of ancient documents have been preserved in Shingiti. Thai teacher Saiful Islam has for several decades been director of his family foundation that maintains some of these documents written in Arabic.
شنقيط لم تكن فقط مدينة روحانيات، مدينة تصوف، مدينة دين، بل أنها كانت معبرا اقتصاديا في غرب إفريقيا، بل أنها كانت المعبر الإجباري على جميع القوافل التي تمر عبر الصحراء هذا المسجد هو هنا. هذه المباني لا تزال شاهدة على التراث. المكتبات غنية تفوح طيبا ورائحة علم. المباني تحتفظ بطابعها التقليدي الارشتكتوري المعماري الذي لم يتغير حتى الآن. كل هذا ما زال شاهدا على أن شنقيط ما زالت بخير وستظل إن شاء الله. المكتبات، مكتبات شنقيط هي بقايا أيضا من بقايا شنقيط، بقايا الموروث الثقافي، المخطوطات التي كانت عند الأسر. طبعا ليست كل الأسر تملك المخطوطات، هي أسر علمية معلمة. العلمية المعلمة كانت لديها مخطوطات، كانت تستجلبها من شتى بقاع العالم أو تكتبها عندها محليا، هذا سواء. النتيجة أنه حصل كم هائل من المخطوطات.
The influence of Arabic and Islam extended across the Ghana Empire. But the rulers of Ghana began to lose control of trade to more powerful rival groups such as the Mandi people, who were sometimes known as the Mandinka. There were also environmental reasons behind Ghana's decline. Much of its farmland was worn out, partly through overgrazing. The Mandi launched a major offensive in 1235 under the leadership of Sunjata Keita. Sunjata Keita took control of the Soninke people and much of the former kingdom of Ghana and began building a vast new empire for himself, that of Mali. After the break, we visit the most famous of the cities of the Mali Empire, the legendary Timbuktu. This is Bamako, the present-day capital of the country Mali. The Empire of Mali, established by Sunjata Keita in 1235, was bigger than that of Ghana. It extended across many more countries in modern West Africa. Sunjata Keita established his capital in Niani, on the border today between Mali and Guinea. He ruled the Mali Empire as a federation of kingdoms and chiefdoms, and significantly established social and political norms laid down in a landmark Charter of Rights in 1236. This formed the basis for how he would govern his subjects. These principles have become known as the Mandi Charter, which upheld the liberty, dignity, and equality of all the citizens of Mali. Professor Kanate is one of the editors of UNESCO's General History of Africa and says we know what the Charter set out through oral history.
Notamment le savoir-être. Et la question des normes, vous avez parlé de la charte de Kouroukan-Fouka, c'est extrêmement important. Et on a souvent dépeint l'Afrique comme, vous connaissez très bien la façon dont l'historiographie coloniale a dépeint l'Afrique, comme un espace sans loi, sans foi. Mais en réalité, on s'aperçoit que ce qui était important et qui a permis la formation de ces grands ensembles, c'était des normes. La question des normes qui permettaient aux gens de vivre ensemble. La charte qui a été édictée sous Sunjata Keita est celle qui, en quelque sorte, établit les bases de l'Empire du Mali. Et ce document a donné lieu récemment à une mise en forme. Il faut dire les choses telles qu'elles sont, parce que la charte, elle est d'abord orale. Le savoir-être, le savoir-faire sont aussi importants que les monuments.
Sunjata Keita assumed the title Mansa or Kanka, which means king, and he taxed all goods going through his territory. The most famous of the cities in the Mali Empire is Timbuktu, which Sunjata Keita had captured from the Tuareg or Berber nomads. He made it a center for traders and scholars. Getting to Timbuktu is pretty hard. At the time of filming, I could only visit with an armed guard. The airport is closed to commercial flights and the area is deemed unsafe because of the activities of extremists. So finally made it to Timbuktu. First impressions, well, it's hard to see how this dry, rather unprepossessing city, the new part at least, was at the center of one of the greatest empires of Africa. But I haven't got to the old part yet. But as I've been driving through, you do see evidence of some of the destruction when the city was overrun by the extremists in 2012. And of course, they destroyed much of the historical heritage of Timbuktu. It's attained almost mythical, fabled status. You know, in English we say, you'd think she was going to Timbuktu as a kind of metaphor for somebody who's going to the back of beyond. Well, here I am. I meet up with Salim Oud El Haj, a culture and heritage expert born and bred in Timbuktu.
Tombouctou est la ville la plus connue de l'Empire du Mali parce que c'est très loin des centres de conflit. Tous ceux qui sont persécutés à cause de leur religion ou bien à cause des guerres intestines viennent se réfugier à Tombouctou. En plus, Tombouctou, c'est le commerce du sud et du nord. Le sud vient dans des pirogues par le fleuve des produits d'Afrique occidentale. Ici, et le chameau du Sahara et de la Méditerranée viennent à travers le Sahara avec les marchandises du Sahara et de la Méditerranée. Ici, et c'est un centre d'échange. Ainsi, les gens deviennent très riches et ils ont créé des médersas pour écrire, pour faire des correspondances, pour faire des lettres. Et ces médecins se sont transformés à la longue en poursuivant les études par des universités.
Sundiata Keita was succeeded by his son, Mansa Uli.
This is Shining Light TV station, London. We are looking at this documentary, what is happening in West African history. We're going to be showing it to people. We're going to give it to people to learn so they can reflect back to what the Africans have gone through and how rich is the African soil land is so rich. With Shining Light TV station, London worldwide, all what I have seen in every documentary, the colonial master only go there for their own good. Because with Nigerian episode that I've been studying, going over and over and over, all what I see, the Nigerian independent, I did not see anything that benefit Nigeria. What I saw, Shining Light TV station, London worldwide, what I saw on Nigerian independent is everything that the British government have done is what is going to benefit them, what is going to reach in them. That is why Nigeria, a country called Nigeria, have been sharing blood, because I think they need to break the yoke of the blood of the genocide. All these African countries, they are quite rich, both agriculture, both mineral resources. I've been going through all the episodes, I've been studying it from the slave trade, because I'm making a documentary about where Jaja started his journey, because Jaja of Opopo is from my own compound. Shining Light TV station, London worldwide. Jaja is from Umudroha in Mbereji Okoro Zurumba Okwara. That is where Jaja came from. But on this my journey on African history, African slave trade, I did not see what I be, because I was so, I just look, I did not focus on this African history before, I embraced the British colonizing, France, all those European countries that went to Africa. All what I can see, according to the documentary I've been watching, they only went there. You went there, you pretend that you want to colonize these people, you want to bring them out of their primitive life to international life, to make them to go to school, to make them to reaching them in education, to empower their economy, to power their energy, to power their water resources, give them better life. But everything that I've seen in all the African documentary is all slavery. And the slavery is still on to today. The slavery is still on. So people, you should open your eyes, because before, when they are saying one Nigeria, I'm such a person that I like unity. I like people to work together. I like people achievement, because I'm a great worker. I'm a doer person. But since I've been studying African history, went to Oprah Winfrey all documentary, everything that have gone wrong, which is about time for us to, because there was a time God told me to somebody who is a racist is a foolish person. And I saw it in every documentary I've been doing. This is Shining Light TV station, London, worldwide.